Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Susie Lee, and I'm so happy to welcome you to our fourth annual IRS tax webinar. Every year we hold this workshop to discuss the upcoming tax filing season. The deadline, of course, is April 15th, and answer questions about your tax returns and hear from our incredible panel of experts about any changes that are happening in the filing process. Before I get started, I want to introduce our panel. Brian Wozniak, he's the IRS Congressional Liaison. Brian is a tax specialist at the IRS and brings a wealth of knowledge to this discussion. We also have Jeremy Oswald with the Taxpayer Advocate Service. Jeremy has joined us every year for our tax webinar, and we're so appreciative to have him again with us today. And Jody Mobley with the Nevada Free Taxes Coalition. Jody has been a long-time strong advocate for helping Nevada taxpayers in need and for fighting for free and easy tax filing. And let's be honest, no one likes taxes or tax season, and Americans spend an average of about 12 hours and nearly $300 to file their taxes. But we are here in this panel of experts here to help you prevent errors in filing, which unfortunately sometimes leads to delay in your refund. I'm proud to announce this year that Nevada is one of 12 states that has been included in a new pilot program that lets low and middle income filers go directly to the agency online. This program has been funded by legislation I voted to pass. Nearly 500,000 Nevadans will be eligible for this service that offers its services in both English and Spanish. I was also proud to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, which has opened up hundreds of thousands of dollars in energy savings for Nevada's families. Up to 30% in tax credits for energy efficient home improvements, including heat pumps, up to 30% in tax credits for rooftop solar, batteries, geothermal heat pumps, and other property, and up to $7,500 in tax credits for new clean vehicles, and up to $45,000 for used clean vehicles. The Inflation Reduction Act also included rebates for residential efficiency retrofits, electrification projects like heat pumps, cooktops, and other appliances, but we didn't stop there. This year, I voted to pass in the House the bipartisan tax package that will put more money in the pockets of hardworking Southern Nevada families and lowering the costs for small businesses. It makes significant progress to expand the child tax credit and the low-income housing tax credit. It's estimated that 38,000 children in Nevada's 3rd congressional district alone will benefit from the expanded child tax credit just in this year alone. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we get this legislation to the president's desk and signed into law. And I'll continue fighting through the gridlock in Washington to make sure we're delivering tax cuts for middle-class families and continuing to expand the child tax credit. But right now, I'd like to invite Brian, who will provide his update on the current status of the IRS and provide more details on tax season and tax credits. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Brian.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for sponsoring today's town hall. We do appreciate all your efforts in Congress, as well as your partnership and the opportunity to share this important information today. We kind of have a lengthy agenda, and we are going to provide, I want to open by stating that we are going to provide additional resources that will be available to you after the call, because taxes can be complicated. So all the items I'm about to discuss with you, you can always follow up with your congressional office through Congresswoman Lee's office and submit any questions there, and we'll be happy to work with the staff there to get you the exact information you need. The specific items I want to mention, and I'll start by stating that since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRS has implemented several improvements that have helped make this filing season easier on taxpayers and tax professionals. So today we'll talk about some processing updates, where you can get some help, IRS resources, that new program that the Congresswoman mentioned. It's called the Direct File Program, and we'll close with some energy credits. Now, as far as IRS operations, we are currently processing electronically filed 1040 series tax returns within a maximum of 21 days. And many electronically filed returns are processed and refunds issued within 5 to 10 days. So obviously, to file electronically and to interact with us electronically, that's the best way to submit your tax return. It's faster, it's safer. Oh, there's so many benefits to it. Regarding paper filed returns, we are currently processing paper filed 1040 returns that were received in February. And normal processing time for a paper filed return is up to 8 weeks. So it takes almost 2 months to process those. Again, electronic filing, especially if you have a refund, will process your return and get you your refund more quickly. Now, as far as where you can get help preparing and filing your tax return, there's 3 items to bring up here. First of all, if you have internet access and your income is below $79,000, you can use something called IRS Free File. Simply go to irs.gov, type in the words free file, and it'll bring you there. And that program is just simply a public-private partnership between the IRS and tax preparation and tax software leaders who provide their brand name products for free. So IRS Free File if your income's under $79,000. Now, excuse me, if you need personal assistance filing your return and your income is under $64,000, you can use something called VITA, V-I-T-A. That's an acronym, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, and they will offer free tax return assistance in person. Now, I don't want to discuss that too much because I believe Jody's on the call and she's going to take care of that and discuss it further with us. So I'll leave that for her. But under the VITA program, as well as another program within that, it's called the Tax Counseling for the Elderly. We offer, through our partners there, free basic tax return preparation to qualified individuals. I'll also state those programs are usually, excuse me, usually only available during tax season. And finally, if your income's above those thresholds or you have a more complex return, maybe you're self-employed, have capital gains, etc., different types of scenarios, we have something where you can choose a tax professional tool. It's an online tool that will link you and show you tax professionals in your local area who may be able to assist you. And again, we will provide some web references and materials at the end of the call that can be posted, and the Congresswoman staff can make those available to you. Let's talk about people where English is not their primary language. English is a second language to them. The IRS strives to serve all taxpayers, no matter where they live, their background, what language they speak. And to help fulfill that goal, the IRS translates information and provides help to taxpayers in many commonly spoken language. On irs.gov, we have translated basic tax information into 20 different languages. So basic information, we're talking about filing information for individuals, businesses, payment options, where to get help, refunds, etc. Further, we have translated extensive tax information into 7 languages. And if you go to the IRS.gov website, at the very top, the menu bar, you'll see about halfway across the top, it will say English, and you'll see a drop-down arrow there, and you can choose your preferred language. We offer it, like I said, extensive information, 7 languages, Spanish, of course. We have Chinese, Russian, Vietnamese, Korean, etc. We also have something called a Schedule LEP, Limited English Proficiency. And if someone wants to receive IRS forms or publications in a language other than English, they simply need to file that Schedule LEP and let us know which language they prefer. And then if we have those forms, instructions, or publications in that language requested, we'll send them that version. Moving right along, we are offering special Saturday hours for taxpayer assistance. The IRS is going to open many taxpayer assistance centers nationwide for one Saturday each month in March, April, and May to offer in-person help without an appointment. Now, normally these taxpayer assistance offices are field offices where taxpayers can go and get in-person help. Normally you do have to make an appointment, but again, these Saturday hours are open for just walk-in service. This, for your constituents, Congresswoman, this would be our office in Las Vegas. It's at 110 City Parkway in Las Vegas. It's going to be open from 9 to 4 p.m. this Saturday, March 16th. You can walk in. We also have it open April 13th and May 18th. And that office there in Las Vegas is also periodically offering extended hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So again, if you're going to schedule an appointment, it's always better to schedule an appointment ahead of time. But if you can't, you have those Saturday hours to you. And whenever you come to visit, you need to bring a government photo ID, any documents related to your issue, if you received a letter, other correspondence, if you're a victim of identity theft, all those different things. And that office, they can help with tax law questions, account-related issues and adjustments, taking payments or setting up payment plans, alien clearance, individual tax identification numbers, identity theft, a lot of services available there. And by the way, since I brought up identity theft, I have to digress just a second here. We always try to reinforce the message that identity theft is a serious issue in the US, excuse me. So don't take the bait. The thieves who perpetuate these crimes, they commonly pretend to be from the IRS. The IRS will never initiate contact with taxpayers by email, by text, by social media. We don't send emails. Those are phishing emails or text requesting your personal information, requesting your financial information. We don't call or send those emails threatening a lawsuit or that you're going to be arrested. So don't take the bait. And you might consider something called an IP PIN. Identity Protection Personal Identification Number is something you can get from the IRS, and it will prevent thieves from using your name and social security number to file a fraudulent tax return. Other resources available to you is something called an IRS online account, irs.gov online account. You can register with the program. It's called ID.me. ID.me is what many government agencies, including not only the IRS, but also Social Security Administration, many state governments, many unemployment offices, etc., use it. But once you register with ID.me and create an account, you can then have an irs.gov account, and you can use that to securely access all your tax information, your most recently filed tax return, You can get transcripts, you can get copies of your W-2s or 1099s, other income information. You can get prior year's information. You can view your payment history. You can request an IP PIN. All those things are available through the IRS.gov account, the IRS online account, but you have to register with ID.me. Now, the Congresswoman mentioned an exciting new program. It's called Direct File, and it's something where it's a new tool that allows people to file their federal taxes online directly with the IRS. It's free, it's accurate, it's easy to use, and it's secure. Now, it only currently supports simple tax returns. And what does that mean? Well, if you go to irs.gov/direct file, and again, we'll provide some links and other resources for you to access after the presentation. But if you go there, you'll see that only certain types of income can be reported. In fact, there's only 4 types of income that can be used when you want to file via the direct file system. You can only, number 1, have income from an employer, wages from an employer, W-2. Number 2, unemployment compensation. Number 3, Social Security benefits. And number 4, interest income. Those are the only 4 types of income you can report. If you have other types of income, direct file is not an option for you. Then there are other limitations. You can only claim the standard deduction versus itemizing your deduction. Now, 9 out of 10 people who file federal tax returns in the US do take the standard deduction. Only about 1 out of 10 itemized deductions. Itemizing deductions means that rather than taking the standard deduction, some people elect to claim things like mortgage interest paid, property taxes paid, state income taxes paid, large amounts of unreimbursed out-of-pocket medical expenses, large amounts of donations to charity, etc. But again, 9 out of 10 people claim the standard deduction, so most people still qualify for it. And then finally, that program is also limited on the types of credits you can claim. It only supports the most common credits that reduce your taxes. These would be the child tax credit, the earned income tax credit, and the credit for other dependents. If you have other credits that you want to claim that are not included in those, again, direct file is not for you. And I probably should mention that student loan interest deduction is not a credit. It is a deduction. So if you have student loan interest, you're still eligible to use the system. If you have educator expenses, that's a deduction. If you're a teacher or working in that environment and have those out-of-pocket expenses where you help the classroom, you can still use that system. So again, the point here is it's available, irs.gov/direct file. It is available to Nevada residents, but you do need to create an account with ID.me to use that service. Now, I'm going to give a plug for registering with ID.me because, again, it's not just to use direct file. It's not just to get an irs.gov account. It will give you access to your Social Security records and many other government entities that use this platform. Finally, I'm going to close with some energy credits. Now, these were credits, and I'm talking about home energy credits that are energy improvements made to your home. And again, these credits were greatly expanded under the Inflation Reduction Act. Pardon me a moment. Now, the first credit I want to talk about is called the Residential Energy Credit. This is a credit. It's a 30% credit, up to $3,200 per year. So 30% credit for energy efficient improvements to your home, possibly a second home. It doesn't apply to rental units, but if you have a second home, it applies to residences. It's a 30% credit up to a maximum of $3,200 per year. And it applies to things like, excuse me, energy efficient exterior doors, windows, insulation, energy efficient central air conditioners, water heaters, furnaces, boilers, heat pumps, biomass stoves, etc. So when people make these energy efficient improvements to their home, they may be eligible for that 30% credit up to a maximum of $3,200 per year. Now, there's a second part to the credit. It is the clean energy credit. This is a credit, also 30% credit of the total cost for solar panels, wind, geothermal power, solar water heaters, battery storage, etc. You can get a credit if you had, for example, a solar panel array installed at your home, at your residence. You can get a credit of 30% of those costs. And kind of one item that comes up regularly in the course of my business is those can be large expenditures, and this is a non-refundable credit, so it can only reduce the tax you owe. So you may have a large expenditure and a large credit, and let's say you don't utilize the full amount that you were eligible for. Well, there's a carry forward provision. If you don't use the full amount of credit that you're entitled to this year, you can carry it forward to next year and apply it to next year's tax. And if you don't use it then, you can keep carrying it forward every year through 2032. Finally, I want to close on the credit for electric vehicles. And actually, it's a credit for clean vehicles because there are other types of clean fuel vehicles out there, hydrogen fuel cell, but generally what we see mostly is electric vehicles that qualify. So the first item is the credit for new electric vehicles. There is a list of all vehicles, first of all, that qualify. They are qualifying clean vehicles. It's readily accessible, and we will provide that link. And the maximum amount of the credit is $7,500 per vehicle purchased during that year. So it's a very large credit. There are other criteria, but it's available to you. Finally, there is also, beginning January of last year, a credit for qualified used electric vehicles. The credit is the lesser of $4,000 or 30% of the sale price of the vehicle. So again, a credit for qualified used electric vehicles. There's a credit for new electric vehicles. There are energy credits for energy efficient improvements made to your home. There are many resources out there for taxpayers to use to have your tax returns filed for free, whether it's in person, online using free file. We have walk-in assistance available at our office in Las Vegas on Saturdays, including this Saturday. You can make an appointment there to speak with someone. Please utilize these resources. And if you have any questions regarding this, I believe we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. But with that, I'll close it out and turn my remaining time over or back to the Congresswoman and take it away.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. So many new programs this year, and of course, making it easier and easier for people to file directly. So thank you for making that all clear. And now I'd like to turn it over to Jeremy, who is with the taxpayer advocate. He can provide some advice on how to e-file an income tax return, and most importantly, to make sure that you do it in a way that results in less math errors and quicker refunds. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Lee. I appreciate you having me here. So as the Congresswoman mentioned, I'm Jeremy Oswald. I'm the local taxpayer advocate with the Taxpayer Advocate Service. And we're an independent organization within the IRS. We're just here to make sure every taxpayer is treated fairly, that they know and understand their rights under the law. And our advocates can help when there's tax problems that maybe people weren't able to resolve on their own. And so one of the things that we see quite often this year is refund delays. So you've filed your tax return, sent it in, and then you didn't get your refund processed in those timeframes that Brian talked about, the couple weeks for an electronic filed or the 8 weeks for the paper tax return. And that's often caused because something on the return was wrong. Some of the math was done wrong, or perhaps some of the IRS systems that does its checks on your returns found something that didn't quite add up. So I just wanted to talk about some of the things that you can do to help maybe avoid that. First off is just double check everything, right? You're typing in fast if you're doing it yourself, or your preparer's typing it in from, they're doing a bunch of returns every year. Check it before they hit transmit at the end. Take a look. Just make sure everything is done accurately on the return. One of the most common things that we see is when you're typing that you had some taxes withheld from your paycheck, but you're meaning to type 300, but you accidentally type 3,000. You just put an extra zero, right? It happens all the time. We see quite a few of them. But that can cause delays for your refund up to like a year sometimes. And you wouldn't think such a small error, but then when you compound it by everybody across the country that also makes that small error, and then the IRS has to get involved in it, do their research, try to figure it out, it causes big delays. So that's one of the big things that we see. One of the other things that we see is people will use maybe a last paycheck stub from the year. Maybe they didn't get their W-2 in the mail from the person that paid them, or their income statement. Paychecks don't go based off of, January 1st to December 31st. They're often covering multiple years. And so the figures that are on your paycheck, you might see year to date, but that's not what would match up with your W-2. The IRS does a check in their system with their integrity and verification organization that matches up what you've got on your return with any of the income that they've got reported in their system, as well as several other checks. But that check will trigger your return to be pulled out of normal processing if you've used the last paycheck stub, because it's not matching up with what's on the W-2 or what's in the system. So that could be a big error as well, that could cause you significant delays. One of the other things that we see a lot is with the earned income tax credit that Brian mentioned, there can be some filing errors on that as well. Clearly, you'd want to make sure you're claiming a child who meets the residency and the relationship requirements. The biggest dollar amount of errors that we see in that credit is for people claiming a child who's not their qualifying child. So irs.gov has some excellent information, and in fact, a question and answer thing you can go through to see how much you would qualify and who qualifies. I highly recommend doing that if you're not sure, but just make sure you're putting the accurate thing there. In addition, make sure you're accounting for the accurate amount of income. So a lot of income, especially on things like a Schedule C, which is for self-employed individuals, you need to be able to back up what you've put on the tax return for those amounts of income. The IRS will look at several of these, and they'll ask you to prove the income. So make sure you're keeping those good tax records throughout the year, keeping a log of your income separately from your personal bank account, so you can see what that business income is, making sure that it's correct on that tax return. And then the third most common thing we see with earned income credit is filing as single or head of household when you're actually married. So make sure you're choosing that correct filing status on the tax return to make sure that this gets processed correctly. And then last but not least, we see name and social security mismatches quite frequently. So that's just simply your name doesn't match the social security number that you're saying it's for. That could be for a number of different reasons. Maybe you've misspelled your name. Maybe you've mistyped the social security number. So just double check that for you, for your dependents as well on the tax returns. And that can help you to avoid tons of filing season delays. Because these delays do happen, though, if you get caught up in one of them, if the IRS has pulled your return for a delay, they're going to send you out a notice. Sometimes it takes a little while for them to get to that notice, but it's going to be pretty general. It's going to say, hey, we're looking at your return. You can also use the Where's My Refund tool on irs.gov, and that might also say, we're verifying your return, something similar to that. You'll know that if it says that versus we're processing your refund and gives you a refund date, you're probably caught up in one of these filters that the IRS has. Be patient. The IRS does take quite a while to get through these. They get through them as fast as they can. They have a staff of individuals that goes through those as fast, but it's not going to be super fast. That online tool is your best resource to see when the refund's actually scheduled. You'll know it then. If you're in a financial hardship situation and you need that refund quicker, you can come to us and we can try to help intervene. And you can send those requests to us directly on our website is taxpayeradvocate.irs.gov. Has all the information about these kind of issues, some self-help information, how to reach us directly. But also you can come to us through the Congresswoman's office and they'll get in touch with us for you to get this fixed for you and get that refund to you if you're in a hardship situation. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Congresswoman Lee.
Thanks, Jeremy. I mean, you make it clear that there's plenty of resources to help people get their taxes filed and get them filed correctly. And I just want to remind people that if you have questions or need help, you can always turn to my office at 702-963-9336 or go to susielee.house.gov. With that, I'm going to now turn it over to Jody. Jody is with the Nevada Free Taxes Coalition and the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And she'll explain to you even more help that you can get in filing your taxes.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for giving us the opportunity to share with your constituents what our organization does, who we are, and how we can service them. I have a slide presentation that I would like to share with you, if I may. Okay, and there we go. Can you all see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Again, this is just a little information about us for those who are not aware of what we do, who we are, and what we do. I'd like to share with you our mission. And simply put, we are here to assist those who we consider the underserved in our community, primarily low to moderate income individuals and families. And our charge is to ensure that they receive all of the tax credits that they're entitled to. Our efforts support VITA. We have a partnership with VITA, and this year we were able to service the community with 13 VITA sites. Now, as mentioned earlier, one of the main credits that we help our taxpayers realize is the Earned Income Tax Credit. And simply put, if you have a job, if you earn money, then you may have some monies coming back to you. This puts money in your pocket. And the credit itself can eliminate any federal tax that you owe at tax time. So it's something that, unfortunately, about 40% of Nevadans still don't know that they have access to this. So it's our charge to let them know about the Earned Income Tax Credit. We serve, as I said, the low to moderate income taxpayers, single filers, students, families. We serve everyone in the community who at this year, the threshold was $64,000. So if your income was at or below $64,000, you can come to us for assistance, have your taxes prepared, rather than these days, the paid tax preparers are charging anywhere from $250 to more than $400. It depends on how many forms, how many schedules you have to complete, and it can be costly. So again, we're part of VITA. VITA's part of us. We have 13 sites in the community, including in Pahrump this year. We're back in Pahrump, yay. And we exist because we have a volunteer base that believes in contributing to the community, to give their time and experience to the community. Now, the VITA program doesn't require that you be a tax preparer. There are other experiences that are offered as a volunteer within the program. We have site coordinators and tax return preparers. Those are our usual, those are our main volunteers who prepare taxes. But we also are always looking for greeters and screeners. We need quality reviewers. We get help with marketing, training. Translators are always welcome. IT support. We're a nonprofit. So unfortunately, because we don't have the capacity to pay for these services, these skills, we're happy that those in the community who have these skills volunteer with us. Other services that we provide, in addition to the taxpayer return assistance, is that we have partnerships with agencies such as the taxpayer advocate services and legal aid services. We also support the community through referrals to different programs within the community, like the first-time homebuyer programs, financial literacy education, and workforce development programs. We just developed a partnership with Opportunity Alliance Nevada, which is based in northern and southern Nevada, to support them in their LIFT program by alerting, advising their participants in their LIFT workshops to the services that we offer. Allow me to share with you our stats from last year. We were able to, we e-filed almost 5,000 returns for tax year 2022. And those that we prepared taxes for received about $4 million in refunds. We assisted our taxpayers to claim 1.7 million in earned income tax credits and about 627,000 in child tax credits. We have partners to support us. We could not do what we do without the support of our partners. And they support us in a myriad of ways. They provide us the space needed to set up sites. They set up the software. They assist us in registration. They help us to secure the equipment that we need. Just recently, Clark County Library donated 20 new laptops to NFTC. I've been with the organization now a little bit over a year. And when I came to the organization and saw the equipment that we had, I had never seen laptops as old as the laptops that we were using. So getting those 20 laptops from Clark County, Las Vegas, Clark County Library District was a wonderful thing. Our partners also recruit and train volunteers. They assist us in that aspect of the program. And as I said, they're here to support us. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. And here are some of the community partners that we currently work with, collaborate with in the community. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, the library district is one of them. The Professional Institute of Technology provides us with a training venue to train our volunteers on the IRS certification requirements. One of our partners is West Career Tech Academy, where their students, as part of their accounting class, does tax prep. The same for the college students at Nevada State University. And again, as I mentioned before, we've developed a new partnership with Opportunity Alliance Nevada. These are other community partners. We're happy to have East Las Vegas Community Center and College of Southern Nevada back under our coalition. So we do this because we know it makes a difference. It helps the community, it helps build a stronger community, but it also, and at the same time, it strengthens our families. It puts more money in their wallet, their purse, and we know that we're making a lasting and positive difference in the lives of many of our taxpayers who daily let us know just how much they value our service. Now, we are going to have a taxathon this season on Monday, the 15th of April. We're going to have this taxathon, this end of season taxathon, here at our headquarters on South Rainbow Boulevard. We're also going to have the taxathon at Doolittle Community Center and Alexander Library in North Las Vegas. The taxathon is for walk-ins, no appointments necessary. We just want to have a final blast before the first season ends. And one last thing I want to share with you is that we offer a value proposition that no other organization like us offers to the state of Nevada, to Southern Nevada now, and hopefully one day to Northern Nevada. We offer tax preparation services until October. We offer these services throughout what is known as the extended season, which begins in May and ends in October. So those who don't have the opportunity for whatever reason to get their taxes done by April 15th, they still have time to get their taxes done with us. We're the only ones in the state that do this from May through October.
All
And with
right.
that,
Well,
thank you.
thanks, Jody. Thank you so much. Listen, I think everyone here can give the advice of trying to get your tax forms filed early. But should you not be able to do that, it's great to know that there's many resources for those last minute folks who need to get it in on April 15th. And with that, I'd open it up if there's anyone listening, any constituents who have any questions. And I'll turn it over to Chris. I think he's my administrator, and he'll let us know if anyone had any questions.
It looks like we have one question so far for Jeremy. Do we have any updates on the employee retention credits?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, for anybody unfamiliar, the employee retention credits for the credit that was for businesses that retain employees during the COVID pandemic when they otherwise wouldn't have been able to. And so the credit was very helpful, but because of the way that the IRS processes credits, there was a lot of scams and fraudulent claims that went out about it. So for a while, the IRS put a moratorium on filing new claims with the IRS. And actually, I'm not certain, but I believe that moratorium still exists. But the commissioner did agree to processing claims that were filed before, valid claims, right? Or if you maybe were the victim of one of the scams who was telling you could claim this when really you couldn't, the IRS has also created a process where you can voluntarily disclose that and withdraw your claim from the IRS. Otherwise, there's some pretty hefty penalties for claiming a fraudulent credit that you wouldn't be able to. So there is definitely delays in processing these. The IRS is trying to get it right, make sure they're sorting out, make sure they're not never inappropriately charging somebody a penalty when they really were eligible to claim the claim, but also not sending out money to people who weren't eligible to claim the claim. If you are in a financial hardship situation on those, the IRS has, we've successfully negotiated with the IRS to where we can start seeing some movement and processing on some expedited processing for cases through our organization, which is the same if you had gone through Congresswoman Lee's organization. we can get some of it expedited, but some of it does take a while. Many of these are being audited, and an audit is just a time-consuming process. So it isn't going to be fast, but that's kind of the update of where we're at with that currently.
And Jeremy, if I could just tag on, I do want to clarify that the moratorium is still in place for those claims submitted before September 14th of last year. We are processing those claims on a first in, first out basis, but they are going under much more scrutiny and being processed at a slower rate. These are very complex tax returns. There's no notification that is sent out on pending applications either, but the moratorium's in place. There's no resumption in place, and no resumption of claims received after that. No resumption date has been established yet. And I will say, just on the disallowance, there's some misinformation in public media or on the internet. I'll give you one example, though. In December of last year, in 1 week, we issued more than 20,000 disallowance letters just for that week to taxpayers that claimed it, notifying them that their claim had been disallowed. And most of those were issued to entities that did not exist or did not pay employees during that period of eligibility. So a lot is there. There is an ERC withdrawal process. There's an ERT voluntary disclosure program, which ends this March 22nd. But we're still working those cases and processing claims received prior to September 14th of last year.
Great, thank you, Brian.
We have one last constituent question. It's, what are your recommendations, or where do we go if we just moved here but are having issues with taxes in another state?
State income taxes or federal taxes, I guess, would be the first part. Obviously, you have a slew of issues. Feel free to chime in, Jeremy. This is kind of up your alley too. When you move here, you obviously want to change your address. You would file your federal tax return no different than you would anywhere else in the country. Use your most current address, bring it over. You may have a situation where you have to still file a state tax return with that state that you moved from. Obviously, Nevada does not have a state income tax, so no issue there. You may be a part-year resident, but again, those are not federal issues at the IRS level. Jeremy, did you want to comment any further?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so we are also a federal agency, so we don't get involved with state taxes. However, most states do have a version of taxpayer advocate in that state. So for instance, in California with the Franchise Tax Board, they do have a taxpayer advocate as well that might be able to get involved and help you out. Jody, I don't know, do you guys help file state returns when you file the federal? Do you help with perhaps other issues at the state level as well? And I think you're on mute, Jody.
Sorry about that. We don't get them often, but we do. Some of our tax preparers are skilled and will do the state taxes. Usually it's California.
All right, well, thank you. I just want to once again thank Brian, Jeremy, and Jody for their expertise and doing this webinar. I hope if you've tuned in, you've learned some important information that will help you get those tax returns filed accurately and on time. And if you need any further assistance, and even, you know, if for some reason you might have filed for a refund and haven't received it, or didn't receive quite the refund that you thought, or have any additional questions, please never hesitate to call my office at 702-963-9336 or visit us at my website, susielee.house.gov. Again, thank you. I'd say happy tax season. I'm not really sure it's a happy season, but hopefully this webinar got you off on the right foot and will get you in the direction of getting those tax filed and hopefully getting a refund quickly. Again, thanks to my experts and have a great weekend.